Hey everyone, welcome to Danny Chats. This is episode number 33, and today I'm joined by Margaret. Margaret is from America, I think from Ohio, is that right?
Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah, Kent in Ohio, yeah?
Yeah, I grew up in Bay Village.
Yeah, cool. Because we've got a Kent over here, but it's probably nothing like where you live.
No. Sometimes when I look up things for Kent, it comes up Kent, UK. I'm like, oh no, we don't want to go there.
Yeah, we've got like a
It's too
tiny little
far.
seaside. Yeah, tiny little seaside town really, for like here.
Just a little college town out here, so.
Nice. So basically, like we're having a little chat because you was also diagnosed with Wilson's disease. Do you remember when that was?
Yes, May of 2012. So next year I'll be going on 10 years I've been diagnosed.
Okay. And how did that come about?
Well, I was pregnant and I happened to miscarry my child, and then things start to snowball out of control with my health. I was shaking and my muscles were getting stiff, and this was all starting to happen during my pregnancy too when I was carrying. So I was starting to shake like a Parkinson's like patient. My joints
Yeah.
were getting stiff, my hands were starting to turn in. I was starting to slur my words, and then I miscarried my child, and everything kind of snowballed out of control. My health really decreased and snowball like went downhill all of a sudden. So I went to the doctor, and I was there for 6 hours, and the doctor could clearly see there was something wrong with me.
Yeah.
So they gave me brain MRI, and in the brain MRI, what came back and showed that I had tons of metal in my brain and a little
Yeah.
bit of brain swelling. So he had a couple suggestions, and then he wanted to send me to an ophthalmologist for the eyes.
Yeah.
And the ophthalmologist gave me an exam, and he said if he sees copper pigments in my eyes and those Kesher-Fisher rings, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing them right, in my eyes, then they knew for sure it would be Wilson's disease.
Yeah.
So took him 2 seconds. He just went like this, and he's like, yeah, you definitely have those Kesher-Fisher rings, because they were visible to the eye, just how they were. Like, you didn't even need really anything special to look in my eyes. And then I went home, and I happened to just have my first seizure in my whole entire life. And that sent me into the hospital, and I was in and out of the hospital for about 3 months.
Yeah.
And I was in pretty critical condition. Like, my family wasn't sure if I was going to make it. Like, I really couldn't talk all that well. My brain was kind of very fogged. It's still kind of like, when I look back at that time, like, I remember bits and pieces of it, but it's
Yeah.
really foggy because I was just so sick and so out of it. But luckily, I start to regain my strength because my family was really there for me. And I think it's important for a lot of Wilson's disease people to have that support, because it is so hard and you get so critical. And I remember my mom was my hands, eyes, and ears for me, because I literally could not write anymore. I couldn't even write my own name. I couldn't eat my own food. I couldn't even shower myself. Like, I was 100 dependent on my family and my mother and the nurses for care. Like, I couldn't even walk. So with my doctor and the neurologist that came to treat me, they started me on Trientine.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the dosage that they started me on. I was on an extremely low copper diet, and just with the fight and willpower that I had, and the treatment and the good doctors and physical therapy, and I even did art therapy, and just getting outside in the wheelchair and stuff like that. Just day by day, I start really gaining my strength till I was able to go home. And it was still a fight because I was still having seizures and all that. So there was still a lot of going back and forth to doctors, lots of hospital visits and stuff like that. And but surely but slowly, like, those came farther and fewer in between with treatment.
Yeah.
And working myself and my family helping me, and I became more normal. I know that doesn't happen with everyone, but like I was able to and blessed just to work really hard. Now, I'm not going to say it wasn't frustrating. Like I can remember holding plates and wanting to hold my own cups of water and carrying them to like the kitchen to the family room. I remember I would drop lots of those and I would get very frustrated, but you know, I just had that fight and that willpower that I need to get better. So I'm still on trying team to this day, and it's still a fight. And we have that's what my cat wants to join. Sorry.
Oh yeah, hello.
So it can be a lot, but that's where I start getting diagnosed, and I basically looked like a Parkinson's patient. So that's how it started out for me. Now, clearly, I'm obviously not like that anymore. I'm not as shaky or stuff like that.
I was going to say it's very lucky because a few people that I've spoken to recently as well, they were diagnosed with Parkinson's first. So, you know, the doctors, the fact that they did that MRI and they saw that the metal and the copper was in there, and then they went straight to do the eye test was really good, really.
Well, yeah, my doctor had like 3 things that he was suggesting that they were, and one of them happened to be Wilson's disease. And I remember me and my mom, when we found out how rare it was and like how out like the books, I remember I went back to him and I was like, how do you think of it was Wilson's disease? And he's like, no, what? He's like, something just clicked in my head where I remember reading out my textbook when I was in school, and it just clicked in my brain that it could be that. And I remember when we saw your MRI, I even went and looked it up because something just clicked in my head. I was like, wow, you know.
Yeah, that's it. A lot of the doctors, they don't hear about it. I mean, even after they go to college, they learn about it, but not many doctors come across it. So they can be a bit dismissive sometimes.
Well, the funny thing is, when I was 18, because I got diagnosed when I was, let me think, it was 2012. So that was 9 years ago. So I was 21. So sorry, I had to think for a second. So when I was 21, I got diagnosed. But when I was 18, I remember I went and saw an eye doctor, and when he looked in my eye, he noticed those Kesher rings, but he didn't know what they were called. He's like, you have this odd copper ring kind of around your eye. Does that bug you or affect your it doesn't seem to really affect your vision. And I was like, no, and I really wasn't showing symptoms, like great symptoms then, so we had no idea. So if that doctor would have knew what those Kesher rings were, I could have gotten diagnosed and not have gone downhill and kind of like had like almost my life, like I had to rebuild, and like my life was kind of stopped in and out the hospital for over a year. So, and it took getting back to completely 100%, like, well, not 100% normal. I wouldn't say I'm 100% normal and back to good health, but it took me, you know, almost 7 years to get like to where I'm at today. So
this happens so often that patients are just missed or, you know, not diagnosed for a while, and then their health deteriorates so quick. And like you say, it can be a big struggle. And I can imagine, because you'd never heard of Wilson's disease, so then you get diagnosed with it and you become that ill. Did you know whether you'd be able to recover? Did they, you know, because there's not generally much information, so it must have been very, very scary.
No, I remember I was going through a very, scary time and dark, I would say one of the darkest points in my mental health life, because I remember like when I was in the hospital, I was having family come in from out of town, and they were coming to be by my side. And here I am laying in this hospital bed, like kind of foggy out of it. And I don't really know like how bad I look, but everyone's looking at me and they see how bad I look, but I have my brain and I'm not looking at myself. I mean, I knew it was bad, but like I remember one night, like I was so sick and I was so out of it, and I can remember my body was so tired. It was like a tired that you can't explain, really, like a tired that I was never. And I remember my mom just looking at me while I was laying in the hospital bed, and she touched my face and she goes, you know, it's okay if you want to let go. And I just remember it clicking in my head then, like that's when I decided that I really had to fight. Like I how bad it was, but I really had to fight because I wanted to wake up. And I want to get better, and I want to show all those doctors that they were wrong, because every doctor was telling me, you're probably not going to walk again, you're probably not going to be normal again, you're probably not really going to live a normal life, but we're going to do the best we can. So I know there's patients out there and family members out there that are scared, and it is a scary time, and I know you know as well because of your story. So it's just all around scary. So that's why it's great what you're doing to get the word out there. So just if a couple people see and a couple right people see, it will really do wonders. I think.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it is really, really encouraging to see, because when I was diagnosed more than 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there was no information at all. I don't even think there was no the internet had just started, but there was no way of connecting with other Wilson's disease patients or seeing someone that had actually been through it. It was just what the doctors told you, which is generally the scariest thing ever as well.
Yeah. I was 10 years ago, luckily, I was able to find a couple groups on Facebook, and I was able to connect with this one girl. Her name's Janice, and she also has Wilson's disease. She's from India, and she's about my same age, and it really helps me when I was home just to be able to connect with people out there that are going through the same thing, and she could give me some insight and tell me what your life's going to kind of be like in some type of way. And not everyone's the same, but like, it gives you some insight of the coulds or what happens, because when you get diagnosed, like, I hope it's better now, but like when you get diagnosed, it's just so scary because there's not much out there, and there's probably more people with Wilson's disease. We just don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just, like, what do you like that's why the internet, I think, is so great in some ways, because it helps us connect. Because
definitely. Yeah, there's definitely two sides to social media and stuff like that. There is the bad side, but there is also this side of being able to connect with everyone, being able to share stories like this. I mean, there's so many people that I've spoken to that have just inspired me so much. Like, it's unreal.
Yeah, because, well, like, if the one thing I could say is, like, it is possible, like, to become, I wouldn't say normal again, because there's a new normal. Your new normal. So it's to be able to be functioning again and be able to see the light of Wilson's disease. It is possible with work. If you work hard on your diet, your mental health, take your medications, do what the doctors tell you, you can really get to a place of like somewhat normalcy, where you're just going to checkups and you're having to stay, like, versus me, I have to go to a lot of checkups, to make sure my liver's okay, because I was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver a year after. And but luckily I'm in the early stages, so so it's been able to be maintained, and just with through diet and medication and being active and staying mentally on top of, like, not, because it's really easy when you have Wilson's disease to fall into a dark place, because I know years later, I'm tired of taking medications. It's hard for me to remember to take my medications. Sometimes I want to eat something that's high in copper every day, but I know I can't do that because it's not okay for my body. And, I still suffer through GI tract issues with, like, my stomach's upset a lot because I've been on medications for so many years, and and I deal with liver pain sometimes, and I deal with aches and pains from my hands from just tremoring for so long and being, like, so stiff. And I have knee problems because of it. Now I have a heart issue due to my Wilson's disease too. I got diagnosed with AFib a couple of years ago. So I mean, I still do struggle. It's a fight every day to become, but at this, like, just maintain my health, is what I would say, maintain where I'm at right now, because I do live a very normal life.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, obviously we sort of follow each other on Facebook, and you do have a good quality of life. It's great. And, we were just talking, you have a little boy now.
Yes, he's 8 months old. His name's Lincoln. He's the light of my world. He's my purpose. He's everything to me.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I would like to say. I'm glad you kind of brought that up. I know there's women out there that do have Wilson's disease and concerns about being pregnant
Yeah.
with Wilson's disease, and how my pregnancy went and stuff like that. So obviously my cirrhosis was a huge issue, concern during my pregnancy, but I have been in stable condition with my liver for many years. So my liver doctor followed me very closely during my pregnancy. I was obviously high risk the whole entire time because of my health conditions with my heart and my liver. And I was followed very closely, but I was high risk for preeclampsia, which at the end of my pregnancy, I did get preeclampsia and have to deliver early.
Yeah.
But for the most part, my pregnancy was very, very normal. There was no real issues up until 34 weeks when I got diagnosed with preeclampsia, and then a week and a half later, it went from mild to severe very quickly, and I had to give birth at 35 weeks. But my son is obviously healthy, and he's only in the NICU for a little bit, but it is possible with the right care of doctors and I would say you wouldn't want to go into pregnancy just getting diagnosed and not obviously in a good shape of health. Obviously very stable and good condition for several years, at least 5 years, where I'm just on medications and I'm living a very normal, good quality life. So my doctors believed with where I was stable that I would be okay, and obviously I was. So
that's really good, really, really good. And what medication are you on now then? And did you take that medication throughout your pregnancy? Because my guest last week, she was really worried about the penicillamine, and she said she did all this research and she couldn't really find any effects. So she, took herself off of it through her pregnancy, and she said she understood how dangerous it was for her, but that's what she felt was right. And that was the first time I'd heard anyone really talk about that. So I was just wondering how you were.
I was on all my medications that I am normally on today, but through the course of my pregnancy, obviously when a baby's growing in you, they need some copper. So so as he got bigger and I got further along in my pregnancy, like I stayed in my first trimester, I was on, like I am now, I take 3 Trientine in the morning and 3 Trientine at night. So that's 1,500 milligrams a day. Then in my second trimester, my doctor cut me down to 2 pills twice a day. So that's 1,000 milligrams for my whole second trimester. And then the whole third trimester, I was just down to 500 milligrams a day. So 1 pill in the morning and 1 pill at night. And I took a prenatal that had 0 copper in it. So, and it had lots of zinc in it. So to help me out. So I stayed on my AFib medication the whole course of my pregnancy, the Trientine the whole course of my pregnancy, and they told me there was really couldn't find any side effects of the Trientine. So I did what I believe my doctors saw fit best for me, and if I had any concerns or worries, I would call my doctors. But I have been seeing my doctors through the whole course of my Wilson's disease. So I felt very comfortable with them. I had a really good relationship with them. So I saw fit whatever they saw fit, because I knew they were going to take good care of me and they were going to take good care of my little boy. So
I think that's really important, isn't it? The relationship you have with your, say, caregivers, your doctors and stuff, because Wilson's disease, like we said, is so well missed, it's so well misread. It's just, some people just sort of flick it off the shoulder like it's nothing. But unless someone's actually seen it and seen what you've been through, it's hard for them to understand, isn't it?
Yeah, and also I think it's, since it is so missed and it's so rare, it's like a learning process for you and the doctor, like trial and error, what works best for you, and them doing what they think is best for you as a doctor. And yes, I would say that care and that relationship is 100% makes a world of a difference, because I had a liver doctor beforehand when I was first diagnosed that I did not care for at all. That was just had a very negative outlook on life and kind of like scared me almost, and I was like, oh my gosh, and and like most of the time I walk out of the doctor's office crying, so I was like, so I obviously found a good liver specialist that I just absolutely love, and she's been following me for many, many years. So, and so I think that is very important because, I've obviously seen the other side of it where I didn't really have a relationship or necessarily agree or like what that doctor was telling me. So I think 100% important.
Yeah, that's it. Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I do. I have 2 brothers and 1 sister.
Yeah.
And all of them have been tested and none of them have it, luckily. So, but I know other people do have other siblings that do have it. So, but luckily, my whole entire family, no one knew it was in our gene line.
Same.
And no, I'm the only person in the whole entire family, and I got a big family, and I'm the only one that has it. So
yeah, I understand that. But I think as well, I mean, if we look back, if you went back 50 years or maybe more, and you look back at some of your great grandparents, some of them might have died of liver disease, but they just wouldn't have known what it was back then.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what me and my family talked about. My grandma, she loves looking way back into history and stuff like that. So she was trying to see if she could find anything, but she couldn't find anything. So, but you think it's just so crazy, like all the medical technology and advancements that we have now, because if you think like someone was diagnosed with, well, they probably wouldn't have been diagnosed with Wilson's disease, or it might have been really far and few in between. But like the chances of their survival is so slim with Wilson's disease, like 50 years ago even. And it's crazy to me to think about, if I was diagnosed 50 years ago, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, there's that chance, isn't there? Very, very much. And then now they're talking about doing gene therapy for Wilson's disease. Have you seen anything for that?
No, I have not.
It's interesting, basically, and they reckon that they're doing trials now, as far as I know, but it's basically altering your genes so that it gets rid of the Wilson's disease gene in you, so you don't have to take medication. Yeah. And like I say, I mean, I'm not very knowledgeable on this, but it's only sort of speaking to people that somebody said that they haven't fully tested it to know whether, because it hasn't been tested for that long, they don't know whether it would last forever, but there's a chance that it could last 10 years, 15 years,
Hey, from following the Wilson Disease Association page and Facebook groups and stuff like that, I know there's a lot of people like me who 10 years later, I still have a hard time taking my medication, remembering to take my medication. And for us, that's like one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves. And I know, as well as other people, that it's very frustrating to know that you're doing yourself kind of dishonor by not remembering to take your medication as well as you're supposed to. And that's one of the hardest struggles that I still, 10 years later, I'm turning 30 in less than 30 days, that I still deal with to this day. So if they can figure out something where I wouldn't have to take my medication and I could live very normally, it would change. I know it changed many lives.
Yeah.
Even if it's 10 years, that's 10 years. You can do a lot in 10 years,
Yeah, it's good. And obviously, I mean, for you guys in America, it's the money aspect as well. Unless you've got insurance out there, from what I understand, you're pretty screwed.
Yeah. Luckily for me, I've never had to struggle or deal with that. I'm very my mom works in the healthcare industry, so I've always had very good healthcare. And then I got on the government healthcare, and that helps me out tremendously because I couldn't afford it because of my tremors and my health condition. It makes me not work a job and a regular job. So I am on, government assistance with disability. So really limits me to what I can do financially. But to me, since what I've been through, I just find the joys and, having my son and the small things. And I think a lot of people with Wilson's disease can say that you find you see the world in a different light. At least for me, I see the world more richer and the good in it because I've been where I felt like my life was going to get taken from me and my independence was taken from me for
Yeah.
a while. I couldn't do anything myself, and that's really hard as a 20-year-old in your early 20s to not be able to walk, not be able to write your own name, not be able to a lot for yourself. And I remember that was a huge struggle for me over the years. But, like I said, with treatment and doing what I need to do and with my family's help, I'm able to get to where I'm at. But like medication, I would say, is the biggest struggle for me still. I know I see a lot of people comment and post about that they struggle to take that. And I feel like I've tried everything underneath the sun, where it's to apps, to timers, to having people remind me. It's just life.
Yeah. I mean, I did a survey on my Instagram the other day to see how many people had forgotten their meds, and I think it came out with like 97% of the people that answered said yes. It happens. And the two people that I think that said no, they hadn't long had liver transplants. So I was like, give it a few more months, and you will forget it, or it just happens.
Yeah, because you start living normally again, you start feeling normal again, and you just you forget, like you start getting back to yourself. And like, I know at least for some people, like I know some people don't, but I mean, even if you aren't 100% your normal self, you're in your new normal. So, and just life, I just know that's for sure for me. So you can add another person to your list. That forget.
Yeah, that's great. So obviously it's early in the morning there for you guys, or early-ish, and it's late in the evening here for us. So what is your plans for the rest of the day?
Well, I think we're gonna try and go to a pumpkin patch or like
Oh
a
yes, Halloween.
apple. Yeah, my birthday's on Halloween, so we do
Is
the
it?
Halloween thing out here. So yeah, my whole family goes big for Halloween. So
That's really cool.
yeah. So I don't know. It's a nice day out. The sun's shining. It's nice and coolish. It's like gonna get 75, but beautiful day. So we're gonna go soak it up before that snow comes. I know you know about snow too.
Yeah, yeah, we get some snow. It's actually the same here today. It's really nice. We went for a walk along the river this morning with the dog.
Yeah, I'm not excited for that snow.
Nah, cold, cold. I don't know what with you guys, but it gets really dark here. Sort of, it's a light for about 5 hours of the day, and then it's dark again.
Yeah, that's how it is here. And it just during the winter, it gets just like cold, gloomy. It gets
Yeah,
darker, like hibernation mode, basically.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you. And I appreciate what you're doing and trying to spread awareness and hear everyone's stories. I think it's great to watch your videos
I really
and
enjoy it. Honestly, I love it.
and I'm glad I got a chance to share my and I hope that I gave someone a little bit of hope and light, and maybe some young women that really want to have a baby or a child and they're scared of their outlook. So
Yeah, I definitely think this would be really encouraging for anyone that's going through, to see that's going through it themselves, or to see their children or their sisters or brothers, if they're in that same position of you were, of, needing all that support. But it's just encouraging to see that, that this can be the outcome for them.
yes. So and we're all out here like ready to give support too. I feel like
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good community. I found the Wilson's disease people generally.
yes,
And
a lot of love.
yeah, lots of love. Like you say, everyone's very appreciative of life in general, and there's some real strong people.
Yes, I feel like you have to be mentally, like, I feel like, you may not feel like it some days,
Yeah,
but you are really mentally strong for
yeah,
what you go through and what you put up with Wilson's disease. I don't think Wilson's disease people give themselves enough credit. I don't even give myself enough credit sometimes,
yeah,
but if I look back at where I've come from and what I've been through, man, I can conquer a lot. And
yeah,
I feel like so can other people. They just need to get that little encouragement that it is possible.
yeah,
So,
definitely. Yeah, having some support helps.
oh, 100%. So that's why if you don't have support, I'm ready to give you support if you need it.
Yes, love it. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll leave you to get on with your day now. Bye-bye.
Bye.